Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Career Chat. I'm Krista Harmon, one of the Career Readiness Consultants at the Kent Intermediate School District, and I'm so glad to have you here today. And I'm especially excited to have Derk Baartman. He is an executive producer to share his career path and insights about his occupation. So thanks for being here, Derk.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Derk, I know that your particular occupation is of great interest to a lot of young people who, like film and media. But let's take you back just a little bit to help them understand a little bit of your journey. When you were in high school, did you think you'd grow up to be an executive producer? Tell us about that time.
I probably didn't. I think not to, because I think there was a real difference in the way people looked at media and the media industry back when I was in high school. I actually, when I graduated from high school, thought I wanted to be a forest ranger. So there's a big turnaround. But I was actually involved in theater. And that kind of got me to around a group of people that were working in the arts and were working in, and I kind of like, oh, there are things going around in West Michigan and there are things happening that I may not have thought of. And basically I applied to a couple of different film schools. I luckily got in, but at the last minute decided to go to Grand Valley because I thought I could get through Grand Valley quickly. And, and I actually took a double major in advertising and filmmaking in the communications department. So it was an interesting little journey. I didn't have like one straight path that I was headed down.
Yeah, so it sounds like when you were in high school, you were in theater. What did you like about those experiences and how did that kind of foreshadow some of the work that you're doing now?
I had a lot of experience, a lot of my background. I did a lot of music. I played piano. I was in band. I was in different choirs. So that was kind of the background. I also went to Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp, not to do an ad for Blue Lake, but that was a great experience for me. And I went to Europe with the International Choir Program. So it was a lot of, that was something that I liked, that I found a home. So it's real interesting that even after I got out of school, it's still like, that's kind of where that influence came from, or that's the group of people that were talking about the things that I thought, that might be something that I want to do. So.
And that's why we're so glad to have you here today, because there's certainly young people who are artistic as well. And we want to help them understand that there are real jobs that creative people can be in, right? And so that's why we're so glad to have you here and focusing on your occupation. So you went off to Grand Valley and you double majored advertising and then film and video or filmmaking.
Yep.
So did you end up having an internship while you were in college to help make that transition to the full-time job? Tell us about that transition and maybe even starting with what you liked about your classes.
Yeah, well, I think that transition was, for me, it was kind of like, get it done. That was my mindset in school. But the great thing about Grand Valley at that point is there was lots of, especially in filmmaking, and a lot of other it was really about hands-on learning. I mean, so you could really get some great experience actually doing the work, and the professors were amazing. The program was small enough. Some of the things I hear when I talk to college classes now is that the classes are so big, people don't get their hands on equipment or can't do that. So that was a great opportunity that I had. Also, at that time, I interned at WGVU, which was a great, easy opportunity because it was right there. So, you could work at the television station, you could get some really great hands-on experience and learn a bunch of new things by actually, taking what you were learning in classes and doing it all in the same day. So that was a kind of a cool experience.
Help young people understand, or did you take the initiative to do some of that? WGVU, was a professor helping you set that out? Helping young people understand that transition of what they might need to do.
Sure. I think I had to take a little bit of initiative to make it happen, but it was at a time where, because the classes were smaller, it was almost expected. If you were in a film video class, you'd work at WGVU to get, that was like almost another class, another stepping stone. So there was a little bit of difference, but I think, it's a lot of work. I mean, it was time consuming, and after, sometimes you'd be working until late into the night after you have after classes. And so it took a little bit of initiative to make it happen and keep it happen. But once again, you were surrounded by really great people who were really there to push students forward and make everybody better. So that was another great part of it.
What are some of your favorite things that you remember from college? And then we'll transition into your working part of your life. But what did you take away from that time? Why is it important to go to school versus maybe do some of the, and maybe you can give us the advice, maybe YouTube folks can do this on their own now, but what was some of the advantages of going to college for you?
Sure. Well, for the advantages for me were that it really took the ideas of creativity and how to collaborate, how to work with other people, and critical thinking skills, all those things that really are the basics that I didn't have as much experience in high school really using. It really helped take those creative skills and help hone them for me. That was one of the things that college did. The other thing is that it's all about, or what I do is all about communication. It's all about talking to people. It's all about meeting new people. It's all about understanding, big picture, what's going on. So that was something I learned in college. It was a great way for me to get out of your high school pod, and you have to meet and interact with a bunch of different new people. And I think that's a really important learning experience too. So,
absolutely. So you were talking about how valuable or how important communication is. So why don't you take us to what an executive producer is and help young people understand what that job's about, what maybe a typical day is like for you?
Sure. So really, I work a lot in, like right now, I work a lot in film and mostly corporate communications and commercials, right? In West Michigan, that's what I do. So as an executive producer, I kind of handle, it's kind of taking the big picture view of how to get creative work done. And it's about managing the budgets, managing the schedule, making sure everybody's happy, which is a very important part of it, between the clients and the creative teams that you're working with, and producing a great product. It's really about how do you make, especially in today's world, how do you make something that's going to attract attention in a good way, and that's going to speak to people, because there's so much noise out there, so much digital content coming at people from so many different directions. How do you make it better, and how do you make it different?
So you're having to manage, like you said, between your creatives and the customer. Are you at your desk a lot? Do you find yourself traveling to clients? Are you at the set? Tell us kind of what your environment's like.
Yeah, so depending on what the job is, it really is. I used to travel a lot more than I did now. There was so much, because of the way that the industry has transitioned to digital, that you can do remotely now that you couldn't do in the past. So yeah, I used to travel a lot more. There's a lot of things that are really important to be there in person for, especially when you're filming. How do you work with people, right? How do you work with actors? How do you work with the director? How do you do that? So that's the other part of my job, is not to just work with the creative teams and the clients, but also the production companies. So a lot of times I'd hire production companies from New York, Los Angeles, anywhere, so to speak, that we'd find the right people to do the job. And it's really about, how do you make that work? How do you balance all those things, and how do you find ways to make a great creative product.
So give us a sample of what one of your projects might be, Derk, like that you're currently working on, and maybe some of the jobs are even around you that support an executive producer. Help us kind of explain what options are out there for kids.
Yeah. So in today's world, I want to preface this a little bit by there are different things going around on in different places, right? What the industry is in West Michigan is very different from what the industry is in Los Angeles or even Atlanta, which has become a big production hub. So there are different places. It just depends on what you want to focus is. What's your creative focus? What do you like to do? How do you like to get your hands dirty? What are those things that get your creative juices flowing and that really speak to what you want to do? Because you could be working anywhere in the world that you want to work. It's more about how do you want to position yourselves to do a certain kind of work, or what interests you. There are just so many different channels and so many different directions that people can go. It's about finding what you're passionate about and what you really love to figure out what the day-to-day is. Every day is different, and that's part of what I love. That's the great thing about this job. Yeah, you do a lot of paperwork, you do a lot of crunching numbers, and you do a lot of scheduling and a lot of work on the computer, but you also get out there and really get to meet some amazing people. All around the country. I've just met some really amazing, crazy talented people. So yeah, it's a very hard thing to define because I've done so many different things within my career, and I also know that the world that kids are stepping into now is a lot different.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. I guess I'd like to give the kids just a little more maybe examples of what those possibilities are, what you're asking them to kind of think what they're passionate about. It sounds like you're in commercials now and corporate communications, which again, they may not know what that means. So go ahead and explain that a little more. And then some of those other things that you have done, help them understand the variety.
Sure. So I think with commercial production, I have worked through production companies, which is a production company is the people who actually do the filming. So they take the creative work from the advertising agency and they actually figure out how to make that happen, what cameras to use, what lighting to use, all the details that go into film work. And so you work with an advertising agency who comes up with the creative ideas and who works directly with the client to make that happen. Another way to look at it is a lot of smaller productions, a lot of things are handled by a small crew where you don't have that breadth of people touching the job, where you work directly with the client, and I would hire a crew and we just go in and get the work done and film it and make that happen. Other different things are working with animation. You work with an animation company by finding the right illustrator who has the right style to get the message that you want across. Another way is through documentaries, getting people to tell their own stories. Getting, the storytelling part of it is so important now. But you can take a look at different documentaries, different television shows, different ways of getting that message across.
That's really helpful, Derk, to kind of flesh it out that way. I'm wondering, and I have a few more questions, but when you look at how things are changing so much, what would you suggest to a high school student now to be, if they wanted to go into filmmaking, for example, or advertising, what might be some things they could do now and what might those next steps be?
Sure. I think, I think a big lesson is to create every day, do something, really that's a huge part of, with the tools that are available, pick up your cell phone. You can there are so many creative things that you can do with your cell phone, with your friends. Just get out there and do something and get those skills going and get those juices going. I think you know, you got to take the opportunity to promote yourself. You know, you have to figure out who you are, what you want to be. And I won't go as far as some people do as say brand build while you're in high school, but it's almost this. You have to learn, I think, even sooner than you did before, that kids today have to kind of know their path and understand you can try a lot of different things, but you know, it's kind of, you know, it's important to experiment and try things, but you got to be able to know who you are and stay true to yourself. So the technology has made it so anybody can do almost anything, but you want to be able to do it well. You want to be able to take that and do it better or as good as anybody else.
So do some of these newer platforms that young people watch, you know, each day, do they have producers? Do they have executive producers too? Or is this something that young people are able to do on their own in a different way than it used to be?
So good question. I think there's two ways to look at that. You know, a lot of the stuff that's on YouTube that's very popular, a lot of the stuff that's on Twitch, a lot of the stuff that's on TikTok, especially social media channels, is very produced. It is done, all the things that look like they're a reality show, they're probably not. There's people, because there's so much money to be made, there's people back there figuring out exactly what they want to do, when they want to say, how they want to say it, and when they want to get that information out. And those are all really important things too. You know, that's, you know, we can't go so broad with this conversation that it gets out of hand, but you know, understanding a little bit about media and what it is. Media literacy is really important. You know, understanding messaging and how to talk to people and how to reach the people you want to, you know, who you want to talk to. But there's also the flip side, right? Because you can do everything with a cell phone. The beauty is that students can, you know, do it themselves. And it's about coming up with an idea that's engaging, you know, that reaches people, that's something different. How do you create something viral? Or how do you create a series of things that work together to tell a bigger story? So the opportunity is out there.
Yeah, is that what a producer then, because what I'm hearing, because this is a new area for me, Derk, I haven't really learned a lot about producing, and I see it on TV, but so it sounds like you're a big part of the fibers that kind of connect all the pieces and coordinate it all. Would that be the best description of a producer?
Very much so, very much so. And every project, it's looked at a little bit differently, right? I mean, part of the beauty of the new age is every project, almost everyone looks at it just differently. So I think part of the job as a producer now is to come in and tell people, this is what I'm going to do. And it's not, there's a lot of things in the industry now that aren't universally understood that used to be. So that's kind of an interesting take. But I think that's an important thing for kids too, is like I said before, is like, you've got to be able to communicate your own story, what you want to be and how you want to tell that story. And, you know, there's a lot of ways to go about it, but it's finding the one that speaks to you that you want to keep doing.
Well, I also think it's for young people who are watching this that really want to use their arts or their interest in film video in jobs. Like, they might already naturally know, like, I am the person when I'm working with a small group, when we want to put out a video, that I am the one kind of organizing and making sure people are doing what they're supposed to. So young people, I want you to start hearing that there's a job. It's called a producer. And it's changed a lot, but that is something that's needed. Like he said, even if it's a TikTok video, there's a team of people perhaps that are piecing it all together and making sure that that message is what they want. And so it's a job and people get paid for it. And I will give a resource to do more investigation on this, like the career data side. But I'd love to just, with our few minutes that we have left, you mentioned that Atlanta is kind of a hub now. What would you like young people to know about kind of the big picture of what you're seeing in the industry? And that's a great inside scoop as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, I think, I think what I'm seeing in the industry is that there's a lot of people out there that have come into the industry with a lot of really great ideas. People are doing things differently all the time. I think technology and how fast things are changing online has really opened up the possibilities that are out there. So it's going to change, and it's going to change even more and even faster as kids. So you have to kind of enjoy that. You have to step back and be able to go, okay, this is it. This is this thing now. In 5 years, it's not going to be the same. So how you do your job, what the product is you're selling, what you're trying to do, whether it's entertainment based, documentary based, commercial, or even business to business, what any kind of thing you're doing in the video film world, there's just so many things to do. So
that should be something.
Change, embrace change. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. You got to be flexible, be ready for change, because even as a producer, I imagine there's actors who don't show up, or the technology goes down, and be able to handle that kind of thing. What other kind of traits do you think make it a good producer?
I think you wanna be able to step back, and you wanna make sure that you're telling the right stories, that you're telling diverse stories, that you're making sure that the message that's intended is correct. That's kind of something that's really important now. Like I talked about, let's communicate. There's just nothing more important than being able to get out, talk to people, and be able to get your ideas across in a calm and in a manner that people are going to respond to you. Because if people respond to you and really want to help you, that whole dynamic changes. I think in the past, especially in the more entertainment-based industries, the people were talked down to people, and that, I think there's a real team building effort that's happened in the creative industry, in any of the arts fields. There's much more collaboration. There's a lot more team building. And I think that's really shows in the product that's out there, and the breadth of product that's out there. So I think learning those things and wanting to do those things are really important.
Yeah, if you're not going to get along with people, that's definitely going to make it a harder road for you. So young people, as your teachers ask you to do team projects, remember it's practice for the future.
Yes, absolutely. And practical, hands-on projects are fantastic. The nonprofit that I work with, the Mosaic Film Experience, that's a lot of what we do. We're out there trying to find opportunities for kids to get hands-on experience and to learn by doing, and to figure out different ways to, do amazing things. And we've been able to, to do some really fun stuff, and we're going to do even more. We have a big event every year in November. So any students out there listening,
you got to plug it, because we have young people who are watching this that may not be aware at all about the Mosaic Film Experience. I'm going to put the link into the chat. But it's the mosaicfilmexperience.com for those of you that are watching the recording here. But yeah, tell us about that, because this is a great activity for young people.
Yeah, it is. So we have, basically it's 3 things we do. Well, not just 3 things, but we have a mobile film competition we do every year called Mosaic Mobile, where students can shoot, edit, and enter on a mobile device, whether it be an iPad, phone, whatever. And we give great prizes: $1,000 for first place, $500 for second, and $250 for third. We've also, the past couple of years, partnered with Interlocking, Fine Arts Institute up north, and they've been giving like our winners a scholarship to their summer film program. So it's a great creative exercise, and we've found some amazing creative talent in West Michigan high schools, and so it's been awesome. The other part of it is our event every year. We do a event in November, and we bring in speakers from all around the country. We've had people from HBO. We've had people that work on Marvel movies. We've had people from Spotify. We just kind of bring people in to inspire students about different careers that are out there, and help kind of have people talk about their path and how they made it, because everybody's path is different. Everybody finds a different way to what they love. And, it's really inspiring. And then the other thing we do are, like I said before, our programs, community projects, different things going around West Michigan and beyond. So yeah, it's fun. We really enjoy it.
Well, I think it's a beautiful resource that we have locally for our students who have this interest, that you're giving them a vehicle to actually, do their art, and that they can showcase it and make those connections. Because remember, young people, any person that you meet at these events, including Derk, are now part of your network, and you can have a conversation with them and see if they have a piece of information that will help you with the next step of your career exploration or what education you might pursue. So Derk, you've been an amazing role model today for us and giving us some great inside scoop. Is there anything you'd like to say as we finish up as a final word of wisdom to young people who are watching this, who are artists at heart, about film?
Yeah, I think, it is very true. And I think I've said it a few times already, but finding what you want to do and feeling like, that a job isn't just work is a pretty great feeling. And that's something, and not everyone can do that. Not everyone has that opportunity, but finding those ways that you can, even if you're not in a job that's creative, finding ways to be creative in it, even taking a look at, what are the places where you can do that, either before work or after work. There's endless opportunities out there, but that also, there's also realities everybody has to deal with. So, be positive, do what you love, and yeah.
Those gold. And I agree with you. I think I want to finish up by just saying, for the artists, young people, we need you. The world needs you. Not all of us have the ability like Derk has. I'm a creative person in some ways, but I'm not an artist. I don't have those creative ideas. So please know that what you have is valuable, and that really our job is to realize that. Thank you so much, Derk.
Absolutely. Thank you. I also think if I'll take 1 second more, but I think jobs in the future are going to need more creative people. I think even manufacturing jobs, with the high-tech manufacturing jobs, problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, all those things are going to be important if you're an accountant in a bank, or if you're working on a manufacturing floor. I think there's just things that, creativity can help students really take advantage of different things in their lives, and they can use it wherever they go. So
I think that's such a great encouragement. And for young people to tell their parents too, like, this is who I am, and they need me out there in the world, and to keep finding those opportunities,
absolutely.
whether it's directly in the art field or not. Awesome. Well, thank you so much today, Derk.
Absolutely. Thank you. Really appreciate it.